My name is Jordan Weaver. I'm the host of the Flatbed Podcast. Kennedy Riggs and I are also hosts of the pre-show here before the events. We are ecstatic. I don't know that there's anybody more excited than me to announce that everything that is the Flatbed Podcast has found a home with the Hondo Rodeo. We're going to be a part of telling the stories, introducing the people, giving you a behind-the-scenes look at the people and the personalities and the culture and everything that makes Hondo what it is, by introducing you to people, even from auxiliary positions that are contributing to what we're doing here. So for you guys that have been with Flatbed since the beginning, thank you for waiting. We took a little step back so that we can take a giant head start running forward for what's next. We are here with a guy that I am so proud and excited to introduce you to, James Trawick, the CEO of the Hondo Rodeo Fest. If you hear some sound behind us, they're taking down everything that people got to experience. But James, I feel like everybody on the team felt like it was really important. We just got buried in an avalanche of momentum this weekend.
Yeah.
And we're kind of digging through it and organizing and all that. And I'm getting a lot of who is it? Who are the faces? Who are the people? Because we experienced something that felt like an orchestra. It wasn't just one or the other. It was the concert, it was the rodeo, it was the fans. But the way that it was all put together collectively felt like an orchestra, and the sound it all made when it came together was greater than the sum of its parts. That is, I know how hard that is, and so I'm excited for people to get to meet the guy that's sort of the brain that started putting those pieces together. Thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, man. The sound that you hear right now is 15, 20 different tractors and 50 guys down there moving mats and
a couple ambulances,
moving dirt, and a couple of ambulances. We had a little dehydration situation, but it's to stand in the middle of this event and see what translates from a run of show, a document that maps everything out by the second, into the intentional, emotional roller coaster that the Hondo is. The way that it impacted the people here, the cheers, the unity that you could just feel in the air. That satisfaction is hard to find in work. And the talking about, I've been asked, similar to what you were just saying, it just feels like this thing has been on the tracks for a long time. It doesn't feel like it's a second year event. And a lot of the reason why is because the people that produce this event come from a history of working together in various capacities, right? Whether that's the marketing department, people that I've worked with for 15 years, or Cord and his team, who he's worked with for 25 years, and it's a multi-generational thing, or Rittenberry on the music side. I mean, he's been doing motorsports and large event concerts for decades. And his right-hand guy, Gordon Buchanan, has been, he was on tour with Kenny Chesney. He's quite literally seen it all. And it truly takes a village like that to make it feel so cohesive, to make it run so smooth.
We talked about this once this week, but in the Old Testament and then again in the New Testament, the first miracle in the Old Testament was creation. And science argues over how old the earth is. And I think in my estimation, it makes sense that God made something old in an instant. Maybe the earth is 6 billion years old and it was created in a day. And what makes me think that is in the New Testament, the first miracle is Jesus turning water into wine. And the thing that is required to make wine that they described is time.
Age.
And yeah. Jesus made something old in an instant, and the two are related. It's intentionally connected, Old Testament, New Testament. And I told you this week, it feels like you guys created something that was old in an instant, which tells me that it feels like God's in the middle of this. Yeah. We pray before every meeting to start and finish. The God family country thing that we do is lived out in every element. It feels like that God is in the middle of all this. And so for something to feel old in an instant, I'm like, it's like that tell, right? You're like, wait, I know this.
There's other scripture that talks about wisdom and discernment, and how, wisdom is and there's a proverb talking about how it's calling out in the streets, right? And it's a gift that the Lord wants to give. if you ask for it.
Yeah.
And my grandmother challenged me when I was really young to go through the Proverbs, probably 12 years old, 13 years old. And it was a challenge that I did every year. And part of the game that she played with me was to bake me a cobbler. I love blueberry cobblers, blackberry cobblers. It's a southeastern thing, but we would go out and pick the blueberries together or whatever, and then she would make the cobbler. And we would sit down and talk about, the different proverbs. And asking for wisdom, asking for discernment is something that I've been doing since I was really little. And I'm not saying that I'm the wisest person in the world, but what I am saying is that from my perspective, when I was asked to lead from the position of CEO, I told the team that I gladly accept under certain conditions. And those conditions are that we lead this business in a way that glorifies God first, that creates an opportunity for families to get together to the extent of which we can control.
As much of that as we can control.
Exactly. We learned a lot about that this weekend, didn't we? And it improves the sport of rodeo, that we stand for faith and freedom, and that we respect our flag and the things that this country stands for. And we just create an environment where we step away from the divisiveness nature of the way that those topics are discussed today, and create a space where it's not necessarily about getting into the weeds in any of those topics, but just creating space to honor what they all mean to each of us.
Don't you think that the dignity we're called to show each other, when it's displayed, it doesn't feel like a rule?
That's right.
When dignity is displayed amongst a group of people, what we get is an experience that we had this weekend, going back to the cobbler, like all of those ingredients are good by themselves,
right?
But man, they're better together.
That's right.
Right? And so the thing we've been saying behind the scenes all week is that the belong before you can believe. This is a place you can belong the minute you walk in the door. There's so many godly principles that if you take it just strictly a religious standpoint, we can turn it into rules and it can get stiff and boring, or you can put it into practice and people leave and they're like, what was that? Right? And it feels like you, starting with you and then growing as it goes, those are principles that were so important to you that now we're getting to display them in such a way that it's like salt, like it's drawing people in. And it's a concert, and it's going to go a little off the rails. Maybe we thought it was going to go a little this way, and it goes a little that way. Nobody leaves feeling like that they had a negative experience with it.
Yeah.
Why rodeo for you? Because historically, that's not the fastest way to sell tickets in major markets.
Rodeo was the sport that I grew up in. My dad, team ropes, mom, barrel race. We raised quarter horses, and I just love it. Junior high school, and beyond. Had fun in college, had fun after that. I wanted to be around this community because this felt like an extension of my family.
Right.
And the people that I'm talking about are all over the U.S. When you travel and you compete, you meet people everywhere. And you end up developing these relationships because it's not easy to live this way of life.
Right.
You're taking care of animals, you're tending to travel and land, and it's just, there's a lot that goes into it that ultimately creates a certain type of person, and I love that type of person.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Get back again. It's like the cobbler. Like all those experiences, when you mix them together in a person, they generally make them better people.
Yeah. And when I got married, had kids, it amplified the desire to come back to the sport. I got out of it, went to work, got into the film industry, did some documentary film work, some short form commercial stuff for Western brands, and even hunting and fishing and outdoor stuff. But it always was kind of like that nagging thing that I could never get away from, of just sold the horses, sold the tack, sold everything, got away from it. Didn't rope a steer. I used to team rope. I didn't rope a steer for 6 or 7 years. But it was just, I watched the NFR every year. I would go to the American. I just wanted to be around it. And ultimately I got married, had kids, and you start thinking about how you're going to raise those kids and what you're building for their future.
Yeah, and how do you do that without that? right?
And well, to like I've said this in a couple of interviews lately, and it continues to come into mind. But it's my dad would joke about the fact that he used Western culture to raise me and my sister, and but it's the reinforcement of a like-minded group of people and what that can do to build a foundation for a young person. It's important.
You are sitting behind the steering wheel of the biggest thing that has happened in rodeo in my lifetime. And that's considering that there's still people that haven't experienced it and still don't know about it.
Yeah.
I've been around. Nothing goes zero to this in 2 years. You're behind the steering wheel of a movement. And I know, even though that part of it is new to you, when people are capable of doing what you're doing right now, when God put something like that in the kind of people that you are, that do what you do, but you're not there yet. You haven't created the Hondo yet, but God's put something there. There's this itch, there's this desire. How much of your life did you spend feeling this? Am I an eagle in a chicken coop, or am I a crazy chicken who's delusional? Maybe I'm not capable.
Mostly delusional.
Well, but now here you are. So now we've seen it come to fruition.
Well, it wasn't always this. So the film industry stuff, right? I got out of rodeo and got into pursuing making a movie. I spent a decade and a half with Brad Hughes trying to make a feature-length film on bull riding. So even in being away from it and not participating in any capacity, like I was pursuing either fundraising, building a portfolio of content, something that was pointed back to this world, this environment, this culture. And the ideas were big. We were trying to raise a lot of money. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I didn't have the portfolio to support it. But what ultimately was happening in the process of that attempt and fail was the reps that I needed to be able to navigate something like this, I
get that, and I understand that, but let me ask it a different way, more specifically.
All right.
You're a guy who God has put something inside of you that just drives you crazy because you feel like, I've got a vision for big, and I can't put my finger on it, but I got a vision for big.
It's in my
But you've got a portfolio that doesn't prove that yet, right? So you are living in an identity that says, I know that I haven't yet, but it feels like I'm supposed to be doing something more than this. Fast forward, we now know. But back then, how do you stay away from the self-doubt that's like, maybe I'm just that guy that's got big vision and no talent?
Oh.
Not no talent. You know what I'm saying, though. Like the talent.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
the current achievement has not yet met the expectation.
It's there's always doubt. There's still doubt. Can we go from here into NFL stadiums? How big can we go? We went from 60,000 tickets to 90,000 tickets. What is the end of the road? And it to me, it's not so much. I consider those things. That's a part of the business plan. But at the end of the day, I'm way more interested in the journey and the relationships that you build along the way. That's what's the most important to me. And I think that if you have that outlook, what ends up happening is the outcome is so much more rich.
Yeah, right.
It's deeper. It's got a certain type of connectivity that can't exist if you're only focused on, well, how much money are we going to make, right? Like you've got to do those things because those things fuel the whole enterprise. But to me, it's kind of like you just flip it on its head. And I think God has a way of doing that in the way that he teaches us and grows us and matures us. You begin to learn that it's just, if you just focus on the goal and you look way down at the end of the road and neglect everything else, which is what I was doing in the early days. It was like, I'm going to make a movie.
Right.
Well, do you know anything about how to build a budget for film? Or do you know anything about cameras? Or do you know anything about insurance for film? Do you know anything about unions? No, but I'm going to make a movie. And so there was a lot of, I guess me being naive, thinking that was possible right out of the gate. But the whole idea of going bigger is kind of in my bones. Even today, there was a coffee, like Starbucks sold off 900 locations. Well, there's a location in my hometown. We'll drive by it, the building's empty. I told my wife, you want to run a coffee shop? Why not? But I cannot look at something and see the opportunity. It's just something that has always been a part of me, and my wife, it drives her crazy.
Sure.
Because it's it's always, and I've had to learn how to check that in myself. Be like, just because you can see the opportunity doesn't mean you need to pursue it.
Sure.
And that's something I've had to kind of learn how to throttle about myself.
That's the joy of aging and maturing, is that as a young guy, you don't get a lot of opportunities. So when one comes along, you kind of got to take all of them. And the older you get, you realize some of those, you know, they become useful later, and like you learn something from them. But really, return on investment,
Right.
you just don't have enough. It takes 2 lifetimes to learn by experience only, right? And so sometimes take what you learn from it, and as you get older, sometimes even just the mental hula hoops that you go through, thinking about how you would do it, you get something from it, even if you don't actually go buy the Starbucks in your hometown.
Right. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. My parents, farming and contracting. And so in a way, you're not being given work to do. You have to go win the contract or the bid to get the, you know, my dad's side of the family was in telecommunications, and it was directional drilling and high line construction. So they did a lot more underground in the later years. But the point I'm trying to make is that you had to go win the job.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't just
the meritocracy.
It wasn't coming to you. And so on the other side, my mom's side, her dad he farmed. He raised row crops and beef cattle, and there's no real boss. You've got to just go do the work, whether that's fixing the tractor, the fence, or feeding the cows. Like, it's just, you've got to go. And the mentality that I was raised in was, you see a need, you fill a need. You're not waiting around for somebody to tell you to do that. And as I step back from the sport of rodeo, there's a lot of needs that need to be filled. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed. And the more I moved through media, I got to participate in, you know, things adjacent to the PBR and the PRCA, NBA, NFL, MLB. The camera will take you to a lot of cool places.
Yeah.
Concerts, large scale productions. And that 10-year period showed me the underbelly of a lot of things. And when you see other major sports and then you see rodeo, but your love is for rodeo, you can't help but think about the things that Major League Baseball does right. Even though they do some things wrong still. NBA. And part of the thing that I wanted to fix is the connection between the fan and the athlete. We were talking about this the other day, but we're here in Phoenix. If you go to the Phoenix Suns, the owner of the Suns was here last night. That was
no
cool.
way.
And I'm talking to him, like, if you buy a ticket to go to the Suns, you're getting to see the starting 5 every night.
Right.
You've got injuries and all these other things that could take people out of that equation. But the point is at the end of the day, that's a premium offering.
Yeah.
And with rodeo, you may have a world champion roping in the slack, and that's not cool. There's no way for the fan to build a relationship in that city or that market with that athlete. And so, you know, it just opportunist outlook meets the drive of, you know, like, you want to just go to it, try to find and fix the problem. And then I've got the benefit of spending 15 years with the guys behind the cameras right now, and it just all came together. And I would be like, we've got to bring in, and we'll get to this, but we've got to bring in the rest of the team, because there's a crazy amount of experience in TriStar Productions through Jason Rittenberry. And
I would love to get Jason on here.
You need
that
to.
guy's one of the most interesting people.
Yeah.
Just one of those ultimate professionals that's, of course, you've somehow managed to wrangle, that is a game changer.
Yeah.
And he's just one of many.
Right.
You think of like guys like Mark Shukin.
Yeah.
His history at the Regional Sports Network developed the Dodgers Network,
Lakers Network, Fox Sports, Pac-12.
He's not what we have.
The list goes on.
He's not what we have probably ever had at our disposal from an industry, right?
Right.
They say that this is a philosophy concept, but they say that it's the only mission of every young man is to rescue his father from the pit, like the generational pit. Like, as young guys, our fire is to solve our generational problem, whatever that may be, right? And so when I hear you talking about what you're saying, it's like, I went and I learned and I achieved. It's like that story about the guy climbing the mountain and he comes upon a boulder and he tells God, like, I know I'm supposed to go up there higher, but I can't get around the boulder. And God says, push on it until I come back. So he pushes and pushes and pushes, and then one day there's a tornado and it blows a path around the boulder. And he's like, God, what was that? That was completely waste of my time. I've been pushing on this boulder. And he said, look at your arms and look at your back there's things that you weren't ready for. It wasn't about moving the boulder. It was about what I was doing in you.
It was preparing you in that season.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you talk about all these experiences that probably at the time felt like failure.
That's right.
Probably felt like, God, I know you've put like this fire in me, and either take it. I can't tell you how many times I've prayed this. Like, God, either like take the fire away,
right,
or point it at something.
Right.
And so, this rescue your father from a pit thing, where you're like, man, I love rodeo. I've learned all these things. I've grown up. I've become a young man. I'm doing things. I'm achieving things. But like, the heart is, I love rodeo, and it struggles. It's struggling, and so. When you listen to the contestants now, it's not really fair to have this podcast right now, because now we know it worked. It would be more fair to go back then and listen, but you can't. You don't know who's going to work and who's not, right?
That's right.
But you listen to these contestants, and they're like, you're doing the thing that we have all suffered from. You are rescuing us by going through all those failures. You failed in so many ways that prepared you to go around the boulder, so to speak. And so I think as an industry, we're all like, of course you're going to get Jason Rittenberry.
Right.
Because of who you are. Of course you're going to get Mark Shukin because of who you are. You're the only guy in my life that I've ever annoyed about getting a job. I've worked for myself, right?
Right.
You're the only person in my life, and you probably had access to a lot better people than me, but my point was, I want to be a part of a team. I want to belong with a team. I've done my stuff alone for so long that I love Sam. I love Jordan. I love Tanner. I love everybody. Every time I meet somebody, but that's all the result of those years of failing forward. It's got to kind of feel like now it's worth it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, it's those relationships that is why this thing looks like it's 15 years old, because it kind of is.
Yeah.
Because every single category is a decade at least, in the bag, in the history.
I said at some point this week, I was like, dude, let's go. I'll follow you over a cliff. And you're talking about Jordan and Sam, and you go, they actually have followed me over a few cliffs, and not all of them went the way that this one's going.
No, we're still here.
We had to put each other out because we were both on flames at the bottom of the cliff.
We were taking pictures. We did like our whole production team, and we were standing on the thrust on the front of the stage, and I just grabbed the two of them, Sam and Jordan, and we stood out on the thrust, and I talked to them about that. I just kind of got them on arm in arm. We were looking up at all the stands. This was before we opened the doors. Nobody was in yet. And we were just talking about the failures specifically. I'm not going to get into that, but just laughing.
But you don't have to, because they remember it.
They remember it. Oh my gosh, they can still feel it.
Sam, did James look at you and go, I just want to tell you guys something. I told y'all I wasn't crazy. I told y'all that something was working.
One of them finally worked.
We're sitting at the back end of 90,000 tickets. We're going to New Orleans.
Yeah.
The bigger success than you can imagine, now facing a new challenge. How many old familiar feelings are you starting to feel now, being 4 or 5 months away? Even with the momentum, how much of that nervousness has come back with New Orleans?
Well, last year, coming to Phoenix for our first time, we're more equipped approaching a new market. A lot of things that we struggled with last year, the biggest areas of difficulty was just not being able to articulate what this is.
Sure.
Right? We had no content.
Right.
Everything that we had filmed,
nobody can.
Video, photography, otherwise, was under contract for that particular customer.
Sure.
And so I couldn't use it. We had to create. We were good at creating content. The guys that hold the cameras and do the editing, like, amazing, the world class. And so it was, for not having exact descriptions, it was as good as you could possibly dream of. But to show the scale of what this is, how big the stage is, what the crowd looks like, what the contestants look like when they compete on a stage that big, what the arena looks like under the stadium lights of a facility this massive, it just impacts you in a different way, right? Like, as an example, this year, our pre-sales, we did like 18,000 tickets in a couple of hours. But it's because we can set the ball on the tee now, whereas before it was like, well, here's the tee and here's the ball, and we could never bring it together. So New Orleans will be different. Like, we're going into New Orleans way more equipped than we came into Phoenix the first time.
It felt like the first year you guys were selling tickets, This year it felt like the people who bought tickets last year were selling your tickets because they're the ones like, you guys, you have no idea. Yeah. Is it like a rodeo? Kinda. Is it like a concert? Kinda. What's it like? Well, it's like all those things together.
All of those questions.
Magically better.
All of those questions. All of the D-backs employees, right? We're going to do a rodeo here. How are y'all going to, how does the, on the turf? We're going to build, like, they're going to buck bulls on the diamond? How's that? Like, so many questions around town, here at the facility. And I can't tell you, after last year's show, how many times people came up to me and were like, the first time I walked through the doors, once the stage was set and I could see it, it just hit me. And they were calling friends and family, telling them, you cannot miss this.
It's got to be caught. It can't be taught. It's got to be caught. It's caught, not taught.
Well, last year, the thing that shows me that Phoenix caught it was the walk-ups. We broke the stadium record for walk-ups last year. Thursday.
What?
It was rough. We only sold the bottom bowl last year. We had to kill the upper deck for Thursday night. We had to go on Thursday night. And then Friday night, we opened the upper deck. We did about half of it and half of the bottom. And it was about, I can't remember exactly, 20-something thousand, 20, right at 20. And then the last night we were at 23 or 4. This year we were at 31 every single night. I think the final count was like 92 or 93,000.
Jeez.
So it just, my point is that experience, everybody that saw it last year on the first night came back the second night, came back the third night. We did 2,000 on the day of each day and sold more for the next day. And I think it's just one of those things where you have a certain expectation for rodeo because it's something that's really old and we've been doing it the same way for a very long time. And this is different. Like the quality of competition and what these guys and gals bring in the way of energy and quality is really unique.
And you've brought them in as partners. You have treated the contestants like intellectual partners in this, and that's the thing I got back a lot this week was it is a rodeo, but it's different in that I was out there filming a little bit on the lope through at the barrels, and a couple of the girls just in passing were like, if they'd have taken those barrels off the edge just a little bit, it might have been better, but man, it's good. And I go, why don't you guys move it? And they go, can we?
Yeah.
Cord gets out there. There's all 8 of them. There's a quorum. Cord gets out there, and they go, can we change the pattern? And he goes, if all 8 of you agree, I'll put them in a square.
This sounds like Cord.
And they're like, we're trusting them to create the better product. So, yes, it's rodeo.
Yeah.
Cord says if you're going to be in the arena, it's sacred, dress like a cowboy, and his men look like cowboys. It is as rodeo as any rodeo I've ever been to, but the way that it's done, bringing people in, the people that buy fans, or the fans that buy tickets, they go, I feel like I belong when I walk through the door.
Right.
The contestants say the same thing. Everybody I'm talking to, and then bringing the artists down behind the chutes, and the contestants engaging the artists of like, we're so glad you're here. Yeah. In fact, don't just stand there. Come here, pull this cinch or turn this there, do that. It's almost like a reaction effect, a chain reaction where the more it explodes, and the more it becomes what it is.
Yeah.
Because it's a rodeo, but from there, that's about where it ends.
So the thing that I want to point out in what you just said is that it should feel like an invitation, right? It should feel like you're welcome to have a voice. You're welcome to get involved, and not even just the pattern, but the dirt. Was just it between the first and second night. It wasn't 100% perfect. They had a couple of notes they wanted to give us on the dirt, and Cord just said, well, here's the guy that's going to be grooming the dirt. Here's the tractor and the implements. Here's the water tank. Everybody, let's just meet at the dirt and figure it out. All you barrel racers come down here and we'll talk about it.
For people who haven't rodeoed, and instead, that is not how that normally goes.
No, it's not. What ends up happening is the committee, oh my God. And at the end of the day, that happens, There's bad apples that do create bad situations, but these are the best athletes that compete in this sport in the world, and they're riding some of the best animals in the world. Why would we not want to link arms with them and try to create a circumstance where they can perform at the high, to give the fan the best experience that's possible to give?
I've got to point out that because of that, the humility, the teachability of everybody on this team, there's not one person that's not teachable and humble and wants to know more. Because of that, and that meeting and the dirt, Sunday night, Lisa's going to the third barrel. She hasn't even turned it yet. the crowd is already starting to build because now their rodeo IQ is going up. They've watched all weekend, and now they're starting to see.
Yeah.
We're not being told what to cheer for. They're starting to see it as it's happening. And she rounds the third barrel, and this place erupts. And because of the times in the barrels, the fans have a better experience because you guys went to the people who understood it and let them be a part of it.
Yeah.
It's this inclusive thing that just everywhere you look, it's in the DNA. It is in the DNA of everything around here.
Yeah. There's an element of this where you have to eat the chicken, spit out the bones. You can't take everything. But if you'll step back and you'll let people speak into the process with structure, you have an opportunity to prove everything, because there's always going to be someone who can bring a perspective that you just don't have. They've lived a different life. They have different experiences. They've got little details that they can bring to the table that are going to make the bigger picture better. And you've got to be open to that. Something that we talk about as a team is there's absolutely no room for ego in this group. You hear it all the time, all of our meetings. I try to find a way to weave that into everything because you need a daily reminder. I feel like ego, historically for me, whether it be business or relationships, has been one of the biggest pain points of just everything. And so as a clean slate, new start, new opportunity for this position and this endeavor, there's no creep, there's no opportunity for it to exist here. We cut it off every time we see it. There's none. And so, from that perspective, we have clear defined lanes, and we put authority in the positions of the people that are managing their departments, and they know that they should be open to conversations like that. And Cord, it's not like I had to have a conversation with Cord on that point. Cord, this is just built into Cord, which goes back to when Blake Cody called me and said, "Hey, what do you think about putting together a rodeo and a concert? Can you put together a rodeo side?" That's why I called Cord. I knew that.
Yeah, right. He matched the culture first and the proficiency. Going back to what I'm saying, James, it is a unicorn at a cultural level behind closed doors. Yes, it's a unicorn culturally that everybody can see. I feel fortunate to see how true that is, even when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
That what you've created there, the result that comes out of those rooms is what people are getting to experience.
Yeah.
We've talked to Sam and Jordan, my buddies, that I don't know exactly what department I work for exactly yet. I just seem like I'm around them the most. In fact, I gotta tell you a funny story. Kendall was getting ready to take our picture. Kennedy was getting ready to take me and Jordan Theme's picture. And she's like, "The Jordans." I had a brilliant moment, and I'm so proud of this, and I need to let you know what it is. Had our arms like, "Okay, introduce yourself." And I said, "I'm Jordan Theme." And I specifically said, "I'm the marketing director," because I knew that he was like, "Oh, I'll play along. My name's Jordan Weaver." And then it hit him. And he's like, "And I don't know what I do here." But we've talked about it. Like, if somebody were to come in with an ego, it stands out so much. They're probably going to take themselves out. They're either going to self-correct, or they're not going to stay for very long, because you're gonna get eaten up alive here. You're gonna get made fun of about your most sensitive areas from people who genuinely love you and don't mean it. And the people that are self-serious, it's going to weed them out. Those are the things, and I talked to your wife Peyton about it. By creating a culture, hiring proficiency, what you've done is you've created a space for creative people to create. Yeah. Selfishly, just from my own perspective, I had so much fun getting to be creative at the event, because there's some things I do know, there's some things I don't know. If I stay out of the weeds on things I don't know, and I'm just willing to listen and help, I'm happy to do that. On the things that I do know, I know the team well enough. If I've got an idea, it's going to be a shared moment of excitement. Or if somebody else has an idea, we get to pour in and watch that. We are in an environment where creative people get to be creative.
Yeah. If you get the right number of people that are excellent in their craft or in the thing that they do to work together without ego, it can be a very, very beautiful thing. And a lot of the details I try to stay out of, because what I end up, my most favorite things, we do the event. It's 5 o'clock to midnight, basically, of, from the doors inside. And honestly, go back all the way to the beginning of this thing in the Street Fest. But the whole day, I'm working with, I'm communicating with a sponsor lead, I'm communicating with an investor, I'm communicating with stadium representatives or something, one of those three things, right? Or it's a big issue, something that keeps me away from the details, right? There's too much going on. But one of my favorite things is getting the events over. I'm home, Peyton and I are kind of like winding down, wrapping up the day, and we get out our phones and look at what just happened.
Yeah.
And it's the media outlets, it's the marketing team, it's stuff that you're doing, the way that people react to that and what they see, in the messaging, in just the video style, everything. It's just one of the funnest parts because it's like a quick recap, but I know the people that created the content, and I love calling it out to Peyton. And we take bets on this reel was Sam, this reel was Colton, this reel was JT, this picture was Hillary Mayberry, this one was Click, Fernando Sampson, like the village that has become the Hondo family.
Yes, sir.
It's just so much fun to me because I know who those people are. I know what their specialty is. I know what their style is. And they are the ones that are allowing us to express what the Hondo family feels like via social media and all these other avenues. And so Peyton and I've had a lot of fun at the end of each day just looking at that and trying to figure out, some of them she got right. Most of them I get right because I've been, again, going back to the decade and a half plus of participating in work with all these people.
James, that's what makes you the leader that we would all follow off of a cliff. It is fun for you, and I know you enjoy it. Everybody wants to follow a leader that takes interest in them and what they're doing and is able to lead. And it's making me laugh because I'm listening to you talk about how it's fun, but we're experiencing that different. We're like, it's because of that and the genuine natural interest that you have in that. I've sat through 10 million board meetings, 10 million staff meetings. I hate leading them. I sat there today and just watched how naturally you're able to navigate. It's always kind, open with a prayer. It's always concise. You
haven't been here very long. It can get ugly sometimes.
Well, the ones I've been a part of. But you said today, debrief. What was the order you said?
Be brief, be brief, be detailed, and be gone. I don't have time for 2-hour conversations. A meeting should not last longer than an hour. That should just be a rule of thumb for everything.
That should be a law.
It should be a law. How about we need to let's build a Hondo law.
Our
booklet.
Let's write that in. We're all going to sign it as we are claiming our independence.
But listen, like the whole point in that is it's not that meetings are annoying. They can be, but the point is go do your work, do your thing, do it well. Figure out what the solution to the problem is. Come with the plan. We'll talk about the bigger picture. If it fits in the bigger picture, then go back and implement. And I don't need to be, and we don't need to be in each other's way.
I've gotten to be a part of a few of these conversations, even new as I am, where if we have an idea, we know that Jordan's going to know the answer, so we can go to Jordan if we need to. But generally, we have this conversation of like, does it check this box? Yes. Yeah. Does it check this box? Yes. Then we know James will be okay with it. Now let's get to work on the idea. Does it feel this way? Does it present this way? Does it match? Just a few little markers. And as long as that gives us sort of our starting point, and if I don't know, I feel like I've gotten on everybody's nerves because I'm still learning, right? And I'm going, I don't want to step outside of the boundaries. It's taken me about a month. I already feel confident of like, I know what's important to Cord. I know what's important to Blake. I know what's important to James. I know what's important to these guys. Now go.
Right.
And those meetings where you go, we're just defining what's important, and that's culture.
Right.
And from that culture, we all get to have a cultural experience.
If you get bogged down in the details, you end up not actually doing anything. You end up like just diving into process that actually creates nothing. Right. There's no point.
If there's a Hondo rulebook, first of all, I haven't seen it, but second of all, that could be in it. First rule, and I think it'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to do more of these with you because I think getting to know you in the process.
Can we figure out how to do these horseback so that next time we don't have to be sitting here in a stadium? But
that doesn't feel like a little.
The first podcast, mic'd up team roping. That needs to be.
Are we going to tell people?
Your idea.
Are we going to tell people that we did that yet? There's things coming that we did this week that people don't know about yet.
This is true. We got cameras in places they've never been, and microphones. Sam was scrubbing through some of the footage from this 360 GoPro camera that is going to blow your mind. It is. I'm not going to give it away because we'll let the content do the work that it does. But the ideas that this team came up with to highlight why this is so special, for the next month and a half, it's going to blow your mind.
There were several ideas that were like, we should try this. Is it going to work? I don't know. And then we try it, we're like, okay, let's check and see if it worked. And it seemed like more often than not, because of the expertise of everybody that's involved, it's an educated guess.
Sure.
I can't tell you how many times we heard it this week of like, no freaking way. No freak. You can do that. And then what we're getting from the contestants, I can't tell you how many contestants meetings I've sat in where it's like, you're going to park here, you're going to do this, or we're going to fine you. And it's contentious. So then it's like producers and organization and contestants, everybody's fighting. This was the opposite, because in the same way you gave us the freedom to create, that gives us the freedom to bring the contestants in as partners or intellectual partners. I got a text, and I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying, but it doesn't matter, but I guarantee everybody knows her name this morning, of somebody at a creative level with a creative idea from the contestants. So instead of us like, can we, they're like, we can help. This is the move, to bring them in and trust them, because
it's something I always wanted as a contestant, right?
Same. Same.
I just want to be a part of the process. There's ideas. At the end of the day, you can't let everybody. Those committees, there's a lot of good that comes from structure. There's a lot of good that comes from organizational formatting and all of those types of things. But you can't overdo it. You can't. People do that kind of thing for the sake of doing it sometimes, and I just feel like, there's an opportunity. A lot of opportunity, actually, in just inviting them into the process, whether that be content and crossover with the musicians or athletes from these facilities that we get to go to. And I'm so excited, too, outside of this, in between events, what we're going to do in the way of content with these athletes, right? NASCAR, basketball, baseball, everybody is interested in what we're doing. And I'm like, Haley Kinsel, Cody Webster came, and I could go on and on with these names and these people and these athletes, but the point is that the stories that we'll get to tell from a unique perspective, right? It's not just going to be, here's my horses, here's my land, here's the way I feed them, this is how I train my horse. Like, there's so much more to these people that we're going to tap into, and I'm so excited for that.
I love the saying that mastery is displayed in simplicity.
Yeah.
Simple is simple, but it's the result of mastering something.
Yeah.
An artist that can draw a perfectly straight line, that line is simple, but it requires mastery, right? If you can take something complicated and make it simple, and I think that's what I love, is that it does come across as simple enough for everyone, but it's the result of expertise mastering their field. And man, simplicity in the way that we're telling these, I'm biting my tongue, because there's things that I want to do that we haven't done yet, that we haven't talked about, but there's stuff that we did this weekend that hasn't come out yet. As simple as it is, as a former contestant, it's like a dream come true for me too, because communications background, rodeo background, Venn diagram that kind of does them both. I have a favorite, and we've been talking about it as a team, and actually it's only me. But I like the idea, so I was trying to recruit some help. At some point, Kennedy and I talked about this week, new fans to the sport, we know that the questions are going to come during the calf roping. We know these are not baby bottle calves.
Right.
But they don't yet.
Right.
The education isn't there yet. What would the Hondo think about having an athlete, Shad already agreed to it, Shad said we could, having an athlete that we're familiar with attempt to flank and tie a calf from the post? Would Hondo be willing to put up $10,000 to the charity of his choosing if an athlete could flank and tie a calf in under 30 seconds? And the reason for that is this. If I watch the Olympics, I would love to see just some random guy try it first, and then I get to go, oh, that's why what they're doing is hard. Have you ever thought about jumping?
It would probably be embarrassing. No matter who the athlete is, it could be.
Well, it's got to be the right athlete. I mean, Archie might be able to help us line somebody up. No ego. Hey, listen, this is a no-ego organization. An athlete who wants to be involved, it would take no ego.
The point I think you're trying to make is that this is this is extremely difficult.
These are not baby
if you're gonna
bottle
run down
calves.
and if you're going to run down the rope, one's tied to the post, right? You can't put somebody on a horse and do all that, but yeah, I would be game for that because it would be
There's
it would
a
be very
contrast.
telling.
It lets you see the contrast.
Very telling. See, let's get a Cardinals I don't know, safety.
Well, I'm thinking
linebacker.
we're going to New Orleans. I'm just wondering if this, like, could we
Saints.
officially make it an offer? We'll see, because Shad knows some guys too. Could we, at least from the Hondo, make this the official offer that if there's a D1 athlete, D1 professional athlete, that would be willing to just showcase how hard what we do.
Governor Landry sure does like the LSU Tigers. Maybe we could dip into that.
I bet he let Brian Kelly try it right now.
I bet he would too.
But I just mean what I've never seen the contrast where you see someone who doesn't know how to do it, because then if Shad ties a calf in 7 seconds, you know what you've seen now.
Yeah, it's form.
Yeah,
it's perfect form.
Yeah,
and incredible muscle memory.
Yeah. Well, I would love, if you're open to it, if we could do another one of these, maybe leading up to New Orleans.
Let's do it.
As often as you're willing, I would love to loop you in, because you're somebody that I admire, somebody I'm excited to get to follow. The team that you're building is a huge benefit to me. And the more of you that they get to know without having to, because I don't want you getting burnt out. Like, I feel like it's a big part of my job to try to look out for that. But if we can do like mass communication from this platform right here, let people in on as much as we can.
Sure.
I love that they're getting to almost watch the story as it's developing and unfolding. So,
thank you. I appreciate the conversation.
Thanks for jumping on.